Hey everybody, happy Earth Day. I want to tell you a story that began when I was a young kid growing up in the Indiana dunes on the shores of Lake Michigan that blossomed into a whole lifetime of work caring for the earth and its peoples in a way that has been the delight of my life. I would not recommend to everyone that they play hooky as much as I did in junior high and high school. But I had the perfect place to do it. The Indiana Dunes, which was then becoming a national lakeshore, that was really in my backyard. Dunes and marshes and tules and woodlands and savannas and prairies that were just 5 minutes away from my school and literally a minute out my back door. I wasn't really comfortable in cities. I felt claustrophobic, and I lived in the greater Chicago area in a steel mill town called Gary, Indiana, where we could see the pollution and hear my uncles and my father's friends coughing their way to death with emphysema from all the air pollution there. Water pollution also abounded. But what I found in the dunes was a true refuge from all of that, even though I could still see the blast furnaces lighting the sky at night in the steel mills with incredible power. Tons and tons of coal burnt to make steel each day. In the dunes, I felt the solace that solitude was not something to be afraid of, but it gave you a tranquility and time to think the issues of your life and the life of your family and our society further. Well, I went through it so often playing hooky in high school that finally they asked me to leave my high school, and I never finished high school. But somehow, after working in those steel mills, watching birds as I went, working on railroads, and having a lot of slack time between events that needed my attention happened, I went on from being a steel mill worker to getting into college on probation. Within the first few months of getting to college, someone took me backpacking, something I'd never done. I'd camped with family and Boy Scouts, but I had never been out walking through the snow for 10 to 15 miles, finding a place to camp, covering our campsite in little igloo-like shelters so that we could keep the wind from making it colder. And I delighted in that. Within my first few months in college, though, I heard that something was going to happen the next spring called the Environmental Teach-In, what we now know was the first Earth Day, that attracted 20 million people all around the planet to celebrate Mother Earth and defend her many creatures. Well, I know I dropped out of high school. I know it wasn't good to take a leave of absence from college, but that's what I did. I went on to work as an unpaid intern at the headquarters for that first Earth Day. And that became the pivotal moment in my life, seeing how much of the world's treasures were in danger, seeing how many people cared enough to do something about them. And I wanted to be one of those people, not just protesting, but healing the wounds in the earth. After a month or so of working at Earth Day headquarters that first year, I went on to do more wilderness backpacking, and during one of those, I had a voice that said, "All that you once avoided will bring you great sweetness and exceeding joy." And later I found that message was something that St. Francis said in relation to working with lepers. For me, it was overcoming my fear of nature and finding the joy there that I still feel to this day. And that was my moment of metanoia, like the metamorphosis that a butterfly or moth goes through, changing from caterpillar to a full-fledged, flying, lovely creature. I went through that because of the journey that playing hooky and working in Earth Day had sent me on the trajectory of. 50 years later, I look back at that time and chuckle. I was a sleepy-headed, grumpy, frustrated kid who knew not where I should go, and yet the way revealed itself, just as they say in Star Wars lingo. And I have to ask all of you, trust in going through it. On the days when you don't feel like working or studying, go out and seek something in nature that you've never encountered, and it will be like a seed that brings a harvest back to you 1,000-fold. This is Brother Coyote wishing you all a happy Earth Day 50 and hoping that the youth that hear this make sure that this little tiny movement that started out with 20 million people celebrating Mother Earth will grow into a truly global phenomenon. Blessings to all of you.